Hello and welcome to Boulevard 40, home of the Bible Reading Party, home of the Bible in 1year.com. My name is Kenya and I am the host of this channel, and today I'm going to talk about what it was like to read the Bible in a year, why I decided to read the Bible, some of my expectations, and whether or not things went the way I thought they would. So let me start off by telling you why I decided to read the Bible. I am a Christian. I've been a baptized Christian since about the age of 15, and I was somewhat familiar with the Bible, but not really. Like, I knew what it was, the Word of God, and I knew what was in it, instructions for living a right life, but I wasn't really familiar with it. Fast forward 30 years, about 30 years, and here I am, an adult approaching middle age. I have 2 children. I've lived a great life. I've had ups and downs like many people, and for some reason, this point in my life, I feel like I want to start living differently. I want to start seeing some different things happen in my life, and I want to start feeling differently and behaving differently. And of course, I want to have a better relationship with God. So what better way to have a relationship with somebody than to really know them, right? And so I said to myself, I am going to read the Bible from cover to cover in 2020, and so I did. So I began to read the Bible to myself the first or second day, and then by the third day, I kind of felt like I needed somebody to hold me accountable. And so, since I was already creating content on YouTube with my main channel, I decided to combine the two things, and I began to read the Bible to my audience. About halfway through the year, I decided to make my own channel dedicated to faith-based content, and that's this channel that you're watching right now. I have been reading this Bible right here. This is the New Believer's Bible, compact version, New Living Translation. There's a link to this Bible if you're curious to get your own in the description. And the reason I chose to read this particular Bible is because it is a modern type of read Bible, compared to like the old King James Bible that some of us are really familiar with. This is more than likely what I was familiar with growing up, and reading this King James Bible, on the one hand, it has some nostalgic value for me, but on the other hand, it's one of the reasons I never really was interested in reading the Bible, because it seemed like something that I wouldn't be able to understand. So I chose a modern read, and if you followed me on my earlier daily Bible readings, you will know that I also brought out another Bible. It was the Quest Study Bible, and I've dived into that. And there's a reason why I went from this Bible to the Quest Bible. So when I was going through the book of Psalms and Proverbs, those are the poetry books. And poetry, even modern day poetry, can have a lot of deeper meaning. And I felt like I needed a little bit extra help to try to interpret what it was trying to say. But by the time this video comes out, I will have completed the entire book. And how do I feel about that? I feel pretty good. I feel like I accomplished my goal. I feel like I feel good. I feel good. I knew that I would feel good. Reading the Bible is something that I feel like I've always wanted to do, and as a Christian, I feel like it's something that every Christian should do, because this is the foundation of what we believe. So why don't you know what it's about, right? There's a statistic of Christians and people who believe in God who have actually read the Bible cover to cover, and it's pretty low. And I thought that was quite interesting. So now I'm in that small percentage of people who have actually read the Bible from cover to cover. I thought it was going to be really overwhelming. At times it was not overwhelming, but it was like a chore, because if I didn't make a priority to do it, then it was kind of like, oh yeah, I've got to do that thing. Reading the Bible online really helped me to stay accountable, and helped reading the Bible to stay a priority for me, because as a person with a busy lifestyle, it always seemed like there was never time to read the Bible, even though there are many plans, Bible reading plans, to get through the Bible. And so yeah, reading the Bible every day at 7 a.m. for my audience who was there waiting for me was one of the easiest ways for me to make reading the Bible a priority. Once I switched formats, however, and started doing them as pre-recorded instead of live streaming, and I would chunk them together. So I would read the Bible for an hour, several passages, and then schedule them out. That made it easy for the content to go out, but it didn't make it easy for me to prioritize reading it, because when 7 o'clock came around, I knew in my mind, oh, it's already out there for the people who want it, who are expecting it. I'll just read it whenever, and that became dangerous. So I did miss 2 days, and I was so disappointed in myself. I missed reading the Bible on October 8th and on November 21st or 22nd. And I know because those days that I did pre-recorded Bible readings, and I didn't necessarily read the Bible at 7 a.m. on my own because I was doing other things. I was at work, and I've got a work Bible there, and it was almost midnight, and I knew that I had a little bit of time to dive into it, but I got busy at work, and then by the time I cracked my book open, it was like 12:15 a.m. And I was like, oh, I missed a day. I'm reading it now, but officially from 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. I missed a day. And so that was October 8th. And then the second, it happened again recently, pretty much the same thing. I was doing other things that were related to life. And then when it came around to it, I think it was about 1 in the morning, and I said to myself, oh man, I missed a day because I didn't prioritize it. Because of the Bible plan that I'm reading, it stretched it out to a year. Honestly, you can read the Bible in about a month or less. You can read it in a couple of weeks. You can read the Bible in many different ways, front to back. Read it from shortest to longest books, which I made a quick video on that. If you're interested in trying that out, I'm actually going to try that this year. For 2021, I'm going to try to read it from shortest book to longest book, and you can read it as a devotional. There's different types of ways to read it, and the only thing is you just have to make it a priority, right? Once you make it a priority, it's pretty easy. There were some really interesting parts in the Bible and juicy parts, and there were some really dry parts. And the dry parts for me were like some of the Old Testament books, like Numbers and Chronicles, and where they're doing a lot of repetition of naming names and listing items and going into very deep detail about how something is built, how the law is to be followed. Information was necessary to know in order to get the better understanding, but it was just a lot of information. And some of the easier parts to read were things like the narratives of this happened to this person during this time, this is how they felt about it, this is what God did about it, So pretty straightforward. Those were some of the easier ones. And then there was the books of the Proverbs and Psalms, which were enjoyable in their own way because it was just very short quotes and short sayings. So that's my overall feel of the Bible. You do need to read it, the complete Bible, in order to get the full effect. I know people that have an opinion about the Bible who have never read the Bible because they have either read certain quotes and picked the quotes out and they didn't like what the quote said, or they know a Bible story in general and they don't understand it, or they don't agree with it, or they know certain teachings of the Bible and just that one section of it they don't agree with it, or they don't understand it. My thing is, unless you read that entire passage or that entire book to see the context of what that message was about, you're really doing yourself a disservice and you're prejudging it without really understanding it. The other part is, if you are judging the Bible by today's standards in the 21st century versus how life was lived at that time, you're judging it by different cultural standards, historical standards. These are some of the opinions that I have as far as how I feel about the Bible now, having read it, versus what I thought about the Bible based off of different things that I heard here and there. So the Bible, it's not as long as I thought. It's a thick book, but it's not as long as I thought, and I could have finished it a lot sooner if I didn't use the 12-month reading plan. With effort, I could have finished it in about a month or so. Read somewhere that if you read the Bible straight through, it's about 70 hours, a 70-hour read. And I have plenty of audiobooks that are longer than that, and if you're just listening to it, of course it goes by quicker. If you want to listen to the Bible read to you, you should subscribe to this channel and dive into my playlist, which is the Bible Reading Party playlist. that will allow you to listen to the Bible from front to back. The book of Revelations I've always thought was a scary thing because it's apocalyptic, it's talking about Armageddon, it's talking about the end of the world. Those are some scary topics. When I read through the book of Revelations, it was not that scary. It was mysterious and enigmatic, and it wasn't as scary as I thought. So I grew up as a little kid hearing these Bible stories, and they seem like, maybe because of the cartoons in the book, they seem like cartoon characters. They seem like, fictional people, and it didn't seem real. But as I was reading the Bible for myself, they seemed like real people with real problems, with real issues, with real feelings, real emotions, and real relationship with God, and real life and death consequences. Situations seemed plausible at times, like, oh, okay, I could see myself in that situation, but because of the cultural differences of ancient times versus now, culturally it seemed like there were things that I didn't understand, especially when it comes to women issues. Me being a woman and the freedoms that I have now as a 21st century woman, there are ways that women were looked at and behaved, and expectations for them that I'm glad I'm in this century and not that century. So there were things that I didn't agree with, but I had to always keep in mind that those were cultural differences. So the more that I read the Bible, the more that I wanted to read it, even though I didn't make a priority for it. I know that sounds weird. The more that I read the Bible, there was a sense of calm that I had. So once I started getting into the Word and I was off to myself in a quiet place, there was a sense of calm in reading the Bible, and I really enjoyed that. Can I go as far to say that the more I read the Bible, the closer I felt to God? Maybe. I became curious about certain topics, certain themes that would just pop up, like crying versus wailing. Wailing is a term that I saw a lot in the prophetic books, and I saw it somewhere else. I saw it in like 5 or 6 different books, and then I began to wonder, like, what is wailing? And then I even thought about like Bob Marley and the Wailers, and I'm like, wailing, like crying, grieving, bereavement, being distraught over something, that type of deep, passionate crying over something. Different roles and titles. So I'm going to be doing an article on my blog, and the blog will be over at the website, thebiblein1year.com. I'm going to be exploring some different Bible topics there, and then probably presenting them here as well. So for example, I learned that the book of Judges is not about judges, not like, courtroom, legalities, issues like that. The judges were more like military leaders. And so we've got military leadership, we've got royal leadership, we've got leadership like Moses, who are literally leading people from one place to another out of a situation. We've got these prophets who are trying to lead the people in a spiritual way, from their ways. We've got the apostles who were leaders. And so the more that I read the Bible, different themes were coming up that I wanted to know more about and explore. So here's another thing, and this is something that I think gets people really put off by some of the things that they may read in the Bible. Modern day definitions in English that this has been translated to is different from the Greek and the Roman and the Aramaic and the Hebrew that the people spoke to and wrote things down. There's different meanings. So I've studied Spanish, and I've studied a couple other foreign languages, and not everything translates exactly. There are sayings in English that do not translate in Spanish or Japanese or whatever, and there are sayings in those languages that, because there's cultural differences, you can kind of try to translate it, but it's not the same. The more that I read the Bible, I'm starting to understand, like, certain words, certain rules, certain laws, and the wording that it was written in is different. I made me curious into learning, like, maybe Hebrew, or at least a couple Hebrew words. There is a channel that I've been following lately. I'm going to put the link in the description. There's a lady who really dives into the Hebrew alphabet and the wording and the meanings. And I think when you know the origin of a word and the meaning of a word, using that word in different contexts will bring it a much more richer definition to you. Curious about ancient standards for grooming, ancient standards for social issues, women's issues, religious protocol, royal protocol. And when I say protocol, read the book of Ruth and you'll understand why Queen Vashti got kicked out. Like there were certain things that you could and could not do with royalty, kind of like now, and certain things you could and could not do within the law, like the Levite priests, they had to know the law so that there were certain protocols that could be followed. Some questions I had before reading the Bible, I still have. I've got a note down here for Corinthians. There is a passage in Corinthians about women covering their hair. And for the year 2020, I've been exploring that through covering my hair every day to see if I felt more obedient, if I felt more spiritual, if I felt something, if I could understand it better. The more that I read the Bible, the more I can understand how different interpretations can be pulled from this. Some people say, well, if the Bible is real, why are there so many religions? Why are there so many denominations? Why are there so many factions within denominations? That answer needs to be in its own video. But the more that I read through the Bible, I can understand. I can read a passage and I can take one thing from it and apply it to my own life personally. And if somebody else is applying it to their life in a different way, even though it's the same word and the same passage, we're going to get something different from it. So I can understand now how different interpretations can come from the Bible. Some things are a lot more clear to me than before when I had just heard about the concept. And there are other things, without going deeper into the word, I do feel like I can understand why some people feel like the Bible contradicts itself. I've got only one example on here. There's something in the Bible about no person has ever seen God before. I think that's in Revelations. But then we have the issue with Jacob wrestling with God, and I think even Moses saw God. That's why when he came down from the mountain, his face had a shine to it, it was glowing because he saw God. So somebody might see that and say, well, that's the Bible contradicting itself. And my thoughts on that is there more to it than what I'm reading? That goes back to that definitions. What is the definitions? What were the actual words written in Hebrew? And also, God came in many different forms. Like there are times when he appears as an angel. It says like the angel of the Lord appeared to Abraham and Sarah, gave the message. So sometimes I have more questions than answers. Like, was that an angel of the Lord? Or did the Lord come down in the form of an angel? He also came down as a burning bush. He also appeared as the pillar of fire and the cloud of smoke. So when people say things like, the Bible contradicts itself, did you see God? Did you not see God? Nobody ever saw God. It makes me think like, well, God came in different forms at different times to different people for different situations. So maybe in his truest form, he has never been seen. Feeling less aggravated by life and circumstances. The more that I read the Bible, and the more that I see different issues that people in the Bible were going through, and also after reading through the book of Proverbs, I did feel less aggravated by different situations in life, because I could see the reasoning behind it, which was the selfishness, the ego, the evil, just the wickedness that people have in them. Let's call it self-serving behavior. There's lots of self-serving behavior in life, in people, that once I read through it in the Bible, I was able to identify different things in situations that would either have hurt me in the past, really annoyed me, really aggravated me, but now I feel like I'm seeing things more in the spirit. I'm not seeing spirits, but I'm seeing more spiritual influence. More spiritual influence of how the enemy, Satan, influences us, tempts us, put things around us to make us feel a certain kind of way, put things around us to make us want to do certain things, and different things that are going on with us that make us react. Sometimes in the best way, sometimes not in the best way. So now that I've read through the Bible, I can identify, and I feel like I can just cope with life a little bit better, a little bit better. I have had several occasions of what would I do? What would I do in that situation? Whether I was reading through different narratives and what people were going through, or like in some of the prophetic books, the prophets were there to prophesy against the people, basically call people out. This is what you're doing. This is how you're sinning. This is how you're living. This is why God is angry. And though there are many times where I was kind of like being introspective, like, am I like that? Am I doing that? Am I living like that? And of course, not just out living, but living on the inside, because it all starts here in the mind and it starts here in the heart. That's something else that really, resonated with me. Is like, by the time you commit that action, it's already happened in your mind. You've already thought about it, visualized it, planned it in some type of way, either subconsciously or consciously. Found myself asking myself more, am I like this? And trying to work through my own character flaws, work through my own issues. I was surprised by how often different passages complemented each other, whether the Old Testament to the New Testament or book to book. Now, what you got to realize is the Bible was not written in one sitting. It was not written in one sitting. It was various people, several people over several generations, several different countries and lifestyles and just different areas. And yet and still, there are different parts of this Bible that complement each other. But that is proof of how the Bible proves itself to be true, because these different people in these different eras and different times are writing very similar things that have to do with God, the law, different things to come, prophecies, and they all complement each other. I was surprised at how many funny things were in the Bible. Funny situations, the way something happened, how somebody was described, what somebody said. I was surprised at how many funny things were in the Bible. Speaking of fun, when I began to read the Bible on my main channel, I was having a lot of fun with it. I was reading it in a very casual way. I took it to heart, like I was trying to take it seriously, but I was having a lot of fun with it initially. I'm working as a voice talent, and so in a lot of ways I wanted to bring these stories to life, and I really got into the characters and I kind of acted things out. And sometimes I feel like I was taking it too casually, having too much fun with it, and at some point, like maybe 3 or 4 months into it, I felt myself going a bit overboard. And I didn't want to mock the Bible. I didn't want to be blasphemous. I didn't want to be disrespectful. Like, there were times where I would say like, Lord forgive me, but that was funny. And I really was sincere. I was having that conversation with God, but I didn't want it to come across as mocking or parody or anything like that. I was getting intimate with it. It was like somebody that I knew that I was good friends with, and like you know what I'm saying, we got it like that. And even though I feel like in private I could be like that with God because He knows my heart, publicly I did feel like I needed to like pull back a little bit, because I didn't want to be, like I said, I didn't want to be disrespectful or have somebody think that I was mocking the Bible. All the insight and enjoyment I felt did not transfer to others. This has to do with my audience again. When I first started reading the Bible online, I was really enjoying it. And I was doing it as a live stream. Some people got into it, most people did not. I think the Bible is like a relationship. It's like, it is an intimate relationship. Like, everybody's going to have their own relationship to it. Everybody's going to have their own feel to it. It's going to speak to everybody in a different way, and it's going to speak to people at different times in their life. There were times, like, I'm just now getting into the Bible at the age of 40, over 40. For my 20s and 30s, I was not interested in it like that. And so I have to understand that some people are just not going to get that type of engagement and enjoyment because they're just not there at that point yet. And that's something that I had to accept and learn. The more that I engaged with the Bible, the deeper I felt the need to share it. Like, I don't want to come across as a Bible thumper or a holy roller. Those type of people always put me off. But the more that I get into it and the more excited I get about it and understand it, I want to share it with people. But I just feel like I need to make sure that I'm sharing it with people who are receptive to it, who desire to hear it, and that it's going to help. Because as much as you try to help somebody in any situation, especially once you put the Bible on top of it, helping, it doesn't come across as helping. It comes across as being pushy. And I never want to be pushy. But the more I engage with the Bible, the more I want to share it. The more I understood the Bible, the more I found myself needing to practice humility. the more I read it and understand it, I find myself being a bit self-righteous. Because I read the Bible every day, right? I get that sensation like I'm reading the Bible every day. I understand what it says, and I really have to keep myself in check a lot with either outwardly being self-righteous or inwardly in my heart feeling like, well, I'm better than them because I read the Bible and I understand. So that's something that was revealed to me. Have you ever been in church and you feel like the preacher is talking to you, that the message is for you? Well, reading the Bible for me gave me that same feeling. The messages and the revelations that came to me in certain passages, I felt just like that passage was meant for me. And it was just as poignant as church sermons. And I felt a lot of things could be easily applied to my life, different situations I was going through, or again, my own character. My expectations for reading through the Bible is that I would feel have more understanding, feel more spiritually stronger, have a better relationship with God. Did that happen? Yes and no. I feel like this is definitely something that has to be read and reread to have a better understanding. And I do think there's probably going to be some deeper research, like historical research and maybe even some language study like Hebrew. I think anybody can get understanding and help from reading the Bible as is. Whether you read a modern one, whether you read the King James Version, or whether you read something like a modern read New Testament. If you only choose to read the New Testament, you're going to get a lot out of it. And then if you read the Old Testament, you're going to get a deeper understanding of why, like the why things are happening. So my other expectations are, there are some Christians that I work with, and when I shared with them that I was going to be reading the Bible, I did have an expectation that we would become closer, me and my Christian friends. I thought that we would have more Bible discussions. I thought that we would just click better and just, vibe better because we knew what was in the Word, and we had that strength inside of us and that joy inside of us from reading the Word. That didn't happen. So yeah, I did feel disappointed with my lack of growth with people around me in the Bible and people that I share the Bible with. I don't know what to do about that. I'm going to explore that more and probably make a video about that in the future. Those are my experiences with reading the Bible for the first time. I'm so proud of myself. Pride cometh before a fall. That's another thing. The more reading through the Bible, all those different quotes that I grew up with, now I know where they come from and what they really mean. Lots of Bible quotes can be misquoted and misunderstood. You have to read the whole passage or book to get the full context. But I still am very proud of myself for reading through the Bible. That's what I feel after reading it, and I look forward to making some more Bible topics on this channel, because the more that I read, the more questions that I have, the more that I want to explore it. I hope that you will stick around to explore those topics with me. Check out the description box below for any links that I may have for you and bonus information, like the links to the website that I'm running, thebiblein1year.com, an online resource to encourage everyone to read the Bible. There are some other websites that are faith-based that are connected to this channel. There is a game, a Bible trivia game that I am working on to a fun way for people to study the Bible and to challenge themselves. So that wraps it up. I hope you enjoyed it, and if so, leave this video a thumbs up, which will increase its chances of being recommended by others here on YouTube. Share it with somebody that you think would appreciate it, and if you have any questions or feedback, please leave them for me in the comments section. I hope to see you in the next video where I will be exploring more Bible topics. Don't forget to check out the website, thebiblein1year.com, where you can find the blog where I will be exploring some of these topics and also offer you resources to encourage you to read the Bible. My name is Kenya. This is Boulevard 40. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you next time.